Hi, everyone. This is Joe. Uh, Wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. And I put together this slide presentation about 1905 Greenwich Street because I found some extra slides about Dunmore when I was doing a neighborhood talk down here in Philadelphia. Uh, our neighborhood here in Philadelphia used to be heavy into iron, coal, and railroads, and it kind of reminded me of Dunmore. So I found these slides. This is across the street from where I live now. It's Matthias Baldwin Park. Matthias Baldwin was the biggest manufacturer of locomotives in the world back in the 19th century. Uh, this park was set up in 1991, and it's one of the nicest parks in Philadelphia. And this is what the neighborhood looks like now, looking towards the east. I live in the blue roof building down on the bottom left. But basically, everything in this neighborhood is completely new in the last 80 years because this is what the neighborhood used to look like. It was very industrial. Um, and there were railroads, a lot of coal, a lot of noise, a lot of soot. Uh, the only building that's still remaining is this building Circle, which is the third mint of Philadelphia. It was here from 1901 to 1969. And building right here is what is a manufacturing plant that was used by Baldwin Locomotives, built in 1916, and it is now gone. But here's the way it looked in 1946. So this is a plant where they manufactured locomotives, and then it was a homeless shelter during the Depression. Then it was um, a manufactory of circuit breakers. But even in 1946, they were using a lot of coal, and the neighborhood was still pretty dirty. You can see on this street, you have Belgian blocks with trolley tracks, and on the right-hand side, there's a subgrade railroad line. So you have railroads, iron, and coal in the neighborhood for most of the recent past until the 1970s. Also, around the time I was doing that talk for the Preservation Alliance in Philadelphia, I ran across a news article saying that Brooks Mine in Scranton was opening up again. So I remember as a kid that I think we used to be able to go in and out. There were no gates on it, or if there were gates, we snuck past them. But it was cleaned up, and it was always an educational mine for coal miners, but now it's being converted into an educational tourist attraction. So this is an aerial view of Greenridge Street. Our house is right up there at 1905. You have Grandma's house and Uncle Al and Aunt Catherine's house over there on Webster Avenue. And you have the Loftuses up on 2020 Greenridge Street. And then you have this area in the middle, which is kind of left barren now. There's a senior living center uh, in that within that circle, but the rest of it is left barren. And I think it's barren because it probably is a brownfield because of this. This is what was there before that. We uh, we were born from 1882 to 1939. There was a coal breaker there from the Pennsylvania Coal Company. Uh, and if you look on this map of Dunmore, a sketch from 1892, uh, you'll see first this area over here, which I'll blow up. And you can see in certain circle areas where Aunt Ann Walsh's house would be. And then here's the passenger train terminal, train station for the Erie and Wyoming Valley rail line. On the left, you see Blakely Street coming down and taking a hard right, the trestle going over Blakely Street. So most of us probably remember that. On the right-hand side of this, you see a turntable for the train company where they would do repairs on the locomotives. And here's that train station that was there. I don't think it was there when any of us were growing up, but certainly it was probably there when our parents and grandparents were growing up. So this is another view, a close-up view of that 1892 sketch. And I'll put our house right there so you can see the orientation. But the breaker was there, and that was at the mouth of a coal chute, a coal tunnel, and the coal would be removed from the mine, put in the breakers, crushed, sorted into different sizes, and then hauled off based on different size cargoes. So the comb banks were that you see here were the remains of the slate and an unusable coal that was removed from the mine. And the breaker boys were the boys who were hired to pick the coal separated from the slate as it went down conveyor belts. So these kids back in the 19th century were supposed to be 12 years old, but the foreman often looked the other way when they're confronted with family finances, and they let the kids work as young as 6. And here's me approaching age 6 at George Washington School number 3, graduation day from kindergarten in 1960. I like this picture, because it shows me, and also on the blackboard you have some old-fashioned items, which I think the teacher was being very progressive in putting these old-fashioned items on the board because they were dead. At least in 1960, the coal mines, like the coal breaker on the board there, were being demolished. We don't use hourglasses anymore with sand, and the analog clock, I guess, was high tech at the time, but certainly we don't use Roman numerals. So this is a map from 1894, a sketch showing our neighborhood, and you can see the train tracks running all throughout the neighborhood. And our house would be right within that circle, and at the end of the rail track was the breaker. So we were pretty close to where the breaker was. Here's another map from 1919, which first shows our house. Here's our house at 1905 Greenwich Street. It looks like those 4 houses, the Philbins, Murphys, and who was the other one? The Philbins, Murphys, and well, whatever. But they were built around the same time. Oh, Butlers. So they were built around the same time. That little X on the garage is probably Bowen's garage, and ours is not built. X in these fire maps means a stable. So I'm not sure if it was a stable. In 1919, it might have been converted to a garage. Our garage was not built yet. Here's a picture from 1931 of George Washington School. George Washington School was a couple blocks north of us, and here's an article from 1931 talking about the subsidence at George Washington School. So the breaker entrance was up near us, but there were miles of coal tunnels underneath all these mine shafts. And one of them apparently went under George Washington School, and it caused a little bit of fracturing in the foundation. But luckily, that school made it through our education. There was another nearby breaker. The Greenridge breaker was on Jefferson Avenue. I think this is probably down near where the power company is now, near Prep. But it was another big breaker. And I think there were 9 breakers in Dunmore. If you go back to that oblique map from 1892, you can look at the legend and find all the breakers on that map. There's a aerial view from 1939. You can see our house in orange there, and across the street was the area where the breaker was removed. The train tracks are still running through the cone piles on the left-hand side there. There's the circle around our house and the coal breaker area, right behind Grandma's house. There's our house on a map from area view from 1960. That's Golo there, the footwear manufacturer. The white structure at the end of the Golo factory on the left, I don't think was there when we were kids. I think we played soccer on a flat area where that structure would be, but I'm not sure about that. This is a graph of deaths per million tons of production of coal per year. So you can see in 1870 that 15 means that there were 15 deaths per million tons of coal produced in Northeast Pennsylvania. Now, a million tons of coal is not a lot. The breaker number 5 was producing anywhere from 200 to 300,000 pounds of coal. So basically, let's say a third of a ton. So that would be 5 deaths per year if you average it out. So it was a pretty dangerous job. And this is Dad's father, who in 1943 or 44, he died at age 48. He was a miner who, Joanne, correct me if I'm wrong, who came home from work feeling ill on a Tuesday morning. I guess it was a night shift. And by 11 a.m., he had died. So I guess he had a heart attack. His father, our great grandfather, was at the electric company plant and was pulled into a conveyor belt and died in that fashion, leaving 11 children when our granddad was younger. This is Grandma's father, Samuel Haddon. He was also a miner in the area. That device he's holding onto, I think, is a driller, which would drill into the wall. His job was to supervise a group that would drill holes in the cold bed walls and plant explosives and then run out and hopefully it would blow up while they were out. But one time it didn't go off, it didn't explode. He went in to find out the reason, and it did explode when he was in there, and he died in the explosion. So Grandma's cousin also died in the coal mines. He was crushed between coal cars. And this person is I think this is Michael Haddon from Scotland. I think is Samuel Haddon's father, but he did not die in the mines. But he was a miner. He was an iron miner. He died of middle ear infection that progressed, and it's just a nice Scottish picture. When I was back in Dunmore in 2019, I took this picture, so the house looked basically the same as when we grew up, except for that um, Japanese maple out front. And the backyard looked pretty much the same. Uh, there's a beat up car in the Philbin's driveway. But by 2021, the backyard had been replaced by an addition to the house in a pool. Uh, it's now a gated community. So the Philbins and whoever took over our house have a gate across the driveway there. And I think we all went to St. Mary's. This is me graduating in 1968. And in 1968, we had a basketball team, an 8th grade team, and Dad sponsored it. So it was called Wally's Warriors to honor our sponsor. And I think Billy's team was also sponsored by Dad the year before. So I think we were both called the Warriors. And St. Mary's basketball team is still called St. Mary's Warriors. Here's a picture from 2002 when they took the state championship. And this is their trophy case. So I put this together very informally. That means it's pretty crappy. But it was just to show some of the slides I dug up when I was doing a talk about our neighborhood. So Merry Christmas, everyone. If you have any pictures of your own kindergarten or 8th grade graduations, send them along to me. I think they're pretty cool. But have a good Happy New Year.